Good morning. One of Muhammad's alleged greatest miracles was his night journey to heavens, his space travel. It's called Miraj in Islam. But if you delve into the history of religions and if you study Zoroastrianism, you will see there was a Zoroastrian monk around 250 years before Christ. His name was Arda Viraz. Please check the description box below for references. This Arda Viraz guy, he fell asleep, and in his sleep he dreamt that he was being offered a cup of drink by an angel called Bahman, and he accompanied this Ardaviras to God Ahura Mazda's quarters, and then he went to Ahura Mazda, and Ahura Mazda showed him how the people were being treated, who were being treated in heaven, who were being treated in hell, and how what they were going through, and etc. etc. And he traveled through 7 stages of the sky. So this story was picked up by the greatest madman in human history, Muhammad, Islamic prophet Muhammad, in his claim for Miraj, this travel to Allah. If you read the most authentic hadiths described by Ibn Anas bin Malik, that Muhammad in his Miraj travel was offered, first of all, drinks by the angel Gabriel, and Gabriel offered him a cup of wine and a cup of milk, and Muhammad opted for milk. Then he traveled through space and time, and first of all he went to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, then he prayed there, and Temple Mount. Then he traveled through 7 stages of the heavens. Then he reached Allah. So you can see the amazing similarities between these 2 stories, and there should be no doubt that the Miraj story was picked up from Ahada Viraz. Miraj, Viraz, same, they're copycat. Now let's find out why he did that. If you read the context of the satanic verses, the satanic verses, the verses of 22 Surah, verse 52, and etc. If you read all that, you will see, please again read the description boxes below, and you will see that the satanic verses, in the satanic verses, Muhammad was trying to reconcile with the pagans and believers of other faiths who were not Muslims, because Muhammad was cornered intellectually. Muhammad was going through mental problems because he almost even wanted to commit suicide at some point, and there were Quranic verses being revealed, you are not going mad, etc. So Muhammad at some point was trying to compromise with his belief, and later on, Muhammad's, when his life was sorted out, he became the ruler of Medina. He changed all that, and he brought out other verses saying that the previous verse was inspired by the devil, and those verses the previous verses came to know as the satanic verses. So Muhammad said that Allah, through Quran, as always, to his rescue, said, if Allah wants, he will always replace better verses, because Allah has to go through some testing times. So he would always keep this option open, that Allah would replace the previous verses, mansukh, that's what it's called, would abrogate the previous verses and replace them with better verses. And Allah always came to Muhammad's rescue when he was in trouble with his wives, as he was caught with Maria Kiptia, the concubine, in one of his wives, Hafsa's house, and all of his wives went to his tribe. Allah's verses came in Surah 33 and Surah 66, and then when his wife Aisha was allegedly having a fling with someone, then Allah's verses came. Then when he was trying to convince the Muslims about the terms and conditions of Hudaybiyah treaty, then Surah 48 verse 1 to 19 came. I mean, all this proves that Muhammad was always concocting stories, concocting verses, and etc. This was not an exception. So Muhammad, when he concocted those verses to compromise with the non-believers, because he also sent out threats to one of his uncles, Abu Lahab, and his wife. Then Abu Lahab was one of the most honored, revered persons of Mecca at the time. He was highly educated, he was a sophisticated man, an intellectual. Then the community was angered and Muhammad was cornered. So Muhammad was trying to find a way to compromise. So that's why he came out with these satanic verses. But this is spread. All the Meccan people were happy because they said at last Muhammad has sobered up. He has started compromising with our belief. But Muhammad was before that was randomly slandering the deities of other religions. And he started coming up with verses that, well, your religion is for you, my religion is for me, and there's no pressure, there is no suppression in religion. But remember that later on, which is Surah number 5, in fact it's Surah number much later. So Surah 5 later on abrogated all that. Surah 9, which is in fact 112, abrogated all that, all these tolerances, and said that well, all non-Muslims should be subjugated. So Muhammad himself went against it and he started slandering the faiths of other believers, insulting Christians, that what they do is disgusting and all. So Muhammad in fact did not keep this word, just to let you know. So Muhammad concocted those verses and wanted to compromise, and when this news spread that Muhammad has agreed to compromise and with their beliefs, Alat, Manat, all those gods. Muhammad, in fact, was in talks already with the leaders of Medina. Medina, his mother's side was from Medina, so he already had a connection. So Medinan people, especially Christians and Jews, who were predominant there, Christians and Jews, they were looking for someone who would be like, from them is still not from them, who would be like close to their faith is still not their faith. So Muhammad, what he was preaching initially sounded like Christianity and Judaism, whereas he was not. And Muhammad, when he found out that his compromising steps through certain verses were not really very convincing to many of the non-Muslims, and he was already in talks with the Christians and Jews from 619 to 622. Then he concocted this story of Miraj. Because in his Miraj story, he described that he met Moses, who revered by the Jews. He met Jesus, revered by the Christians. So when it spread, then he said that those verses are not applicable anymore. Those verses of the satanic verses, which appear to be apologetic towards the non-Muslims and non-Christians and non-Jews. So he concocted this story, which was totally copied from Viraz. And when it is spread to the Christians and Jews, they thought, oh, okay, that's all right, then he's one of us. So that helped Muhammad bridge the gap, bridge the problems, and then he traveled to Medina, leaving his children behind, leaving his cousin Ali behind in his bed, and they were not persecuted. They were not, his closest family members were not persecuted. They were even allowed, with some little problems, they were allowed to freely to go to Muhammad later on. So this proved that how much tolerant the Arabs were, and Muhammad concocted this Miraj journey and this story to patch up differences with the Christians and Jews. And nobody was witness to this Miraj thing. Nobody was witness. In fact, Muhammad was asleep, and when he woke up and told everybody, hey, I traveled to Allah, nobody believed him. Because Muhammad was already being challenged by the intelligentsia of that time that, hey, you are cooking up stories, you are telling things which you already know from other stories, other scriptures. So you are not telling something new, you are crazy. Perform some miracles, let's see. So Muhammad's this miracle, nobody was witness to it. And only Muhammad's father-in-law, one of his closest friend, Abu Bakr, said, oh, I believe. So Abu Bakr was given the title Siddiq, the Siddiq, the title Siddiq. So because was telling that he was telling the truth. Siddiq was a trusted man. So Muhammad gave him the title Siddiq. So Abu Bakr was the only man initially who said, "Oh, I believe it, I believe it. Muhammad, my friend, my prophet, my son-in-law said it. Okay, I believe it." So this miracle, alleged miracle claim spread. Well, you have to be super dumb to believe such a cock and bull story. Well, Abu means father, Bakr means colt or small. That's Fred, okay? Stop it, Fred. And Bakr means little young cow or colt, similar animal. And obviously Siddiq means a trustworthy or somebody you can rely on, similar meaning. So you have to be the father of a goat, father of a cow. You have to be super dumb to believe that somebody traveled seated on a half donkey, half cow, half goat animal with wings. In one of the hadiths, later on, you can check the references, Muhammad's wife, child bride, Aisha was playing with a horse with wings. And Muhammad said, "What are you playing with?" She said, "Well, don't you know? Prophet Solomon's horse had wings." Muhammad started laughing. So you see, even deep down, Muhammad himself didn't believe in such cock and bull story. So all of Muhammad's miracles were private. Nobody witnessed them. And some of the Muslims would say, "Oh, Muhammad's many of his predictions came to be true." Really, Muhammad could not even predict existence of a whole continent, America. So you are trying to tell me that he predicted supernova, Big Bang? Shut up, let me talk, and all those stories. This is bullshit. Anyway, I think you already read about Dante's Divine Comedy, and if you haven't, I welcome you to read that. By the way, thank you very much. And by the way, many of the Arabic names are funny to me when you write them in English. Anas bin Malik, Anas. I don't want to even say it, Anas. And bin Malik, Malik means owner. Well, we are all Anas bin Malik then. Ugh.